I will turn it over to Anna now to introduce herself and start the self-care for healthcare workers session.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone. Really looking forward to having conversation around this today and presenting on this topic. Super important now more than ever, taking care of yourself as we're continuing to take care of others during this crazy, crazy time. So I am, as it says on the screen, wellness specialist at Penrose Hospital. I work between Penrose, St. Francis, and Hibble Sports Performance and Medicine Center. I also work at Children's Hospital of Colorado Springs on a pilot program with Healthy Kids Resilience Data Collection Project. We work with 5th and 6th grade students and do health coaching with them. So hopefully I can pull in a couple things from a few of the hats I wear and answer some questions today. Next slide, please. And next slide. Thank you. For agenda today, we're going to be talking about taking control of your self-care. So what does that mean? Talking about different measures of control that we can have versus things that we can't control during this pandemic and just in life in general. We will be going through some mindfulness exercises. So we've been chatting before. Unfortunately, no yoga today, no chair yoga. But we will be going through some mindfulness exercises and practicing those together. So hopefully you'll have some tools to take away for your toolbox after today. We'll also be talking about self-care strategies to implement, focusing on sleep, nutrition, and exercise as the 3 main components, how mindfulness plays into those and what we can start implementing today for you. And then also overcoming barriers to a healthier you. So what has gotten in your way? We'll chat about those and some strategies to overcome that. Next slide, please. So a couple questions I want you to think about, maybe jot down, journal, but just think about these as we start talking about them. But first question is, what are you doing currently to achieve work-life balance, if anything at all? And if you aren't, being honest about that and saying to yourself, I really am not having anything going on right now for work-life balance. So I'll give you a few seconds to think about this, jot a few ideas down. Next slide, please. Next question is, how has self-care evolved for you from the beginning of the pandemic to now? So what strategies were you using back in March, April, May versus strategies now? Again, journal, write some stuff down, think about it. Also being aware and honest to yourself about, I was doing this really well then, and shoot, I have not been doing that recently, now in November. Next slide, please. And what are a few of the difficulties you currently face with the pandemic as it relates to self-care? So this is something that I do want to open up to the group and ask and just have some ideas from the group as to what you are facing as healthcare workers specifically. So if anyone has anything they want to share, go ahead and unmute yourself. Please share those difficulties with the group.
This is Cherry Richards-Carty. I typically, before the pandemic, walked every day, at least an hour. I do less walking now. With my breast cancer diagnosis back in 2006, I found that baking, sweets, and giving away those things to my colleagues and coworkers was therapeutic. I stopped doing that, started walking. Well, now I'm back onto baking and giving away the baked goods. And so for me, it's helpful.
That's an important piece that you bring up, is giving away the baked goods. That's
Yes. still doing that, but less walking, more baking.
Okay,
And that,
wonderful.
you know, it just makes me feel better.
Good. Anyone else with difficulties you're currently facing as it relates to your self-care?
This is Janice, and I think the biggest thing for me is not having spontaneous face-to-face connections with my colleagues and having just more personal time with them. Zoom is great to a point, but I'm a hugger, and not being able to hug people anymore, other than, you know, my immediate family, and just having that sense of real-time connection is disappointing, I guess. I feel the difference, you know, over months.
Thank you.
Anna, it looks like we have a couple messages in the chat agreeing on the isolation, and then Erica said that she has a neighbor that keeps giving her baked goods and it's becoming a problem.
Okay.
On the receiving side, yes, that is a problem.
Right. And then on another baking note, Carol shares that she gives credit to anyone who has perfected high altitude baking.
Definitely. That's not me. I haven't perfected it yet. All right.
This is Jeanette. Just real quick, because I have a different perspective than Janice in a way. We're still coming in the office every day, and I think what's really starting to wear us all down is just every single day is an unknown. Something has to be modified, changed. You know, I just was late because we had a meeting because new things are being put out, restrictions today for us here at the hospital. And it's just nothing seems reliable right now. And so while it's nice to come in and have contact with people, we're also tense. I think we feed off that negative energy, and it's kind of sometimes I wish I wasn't in here because I would feel like I could have a positive, productive day without all the other heavy stuff coming up. So
this is Brandy. I was going to say one of the things that I've struggled with as well is the work-life balance. I am still coming to the office a few days a week, but on the days that I'm home, I notice that I'll log in an hour early and I'll log off 4 hours late because there's nothing, you know, driving me to actually have to leave or have to stop working at that point. And the constant of wearing masks around the office drives me crazy because we all have that like teenager acne, which is lovely.
Thank you, Brandy. And we've got in the chat, taking on extra stresses with patients.
This is Nancy Farrow. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Nancy.
Oh, sorry about that. I would say with our programs, I totally miss people, but more importantly, what I'm seeing and feeling the stress, we get a lot of calls from survivors that have gone through our program and those that would like to. And we're on the phone a lot. I'm on the phone a lot with people that are so stressed and so scared because of the lack of being able to see people. So a challenge is we really want to get the word out that we're trying with virtual programs, but it's breaking my heart that it feels like we've gone backwards in survivorship, and it's the way it is because we can't be face to face, which adds so much.
Definitely. Thank you guys for chiming in, letting me know what you're currently facing, difficulties you're facing. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of those as we go on today, but I do appreciate all of your perspectives. Next slide, please. So we're going to transition into a little bit of mindfulness as we, brought up some of those difficulties, and just hearing some of that sometimes can cause some stress and some responses in our systems, whether we recognize that or not. So we're going to bring it back down, and we're going to do a body scan meditation. So a few things just before we start the meditation. For those of you who haven't done it or haven't heard much about meditation, why do we do it? And the simple answer is to cultivate mindfulness. So we want to be present in the here and now and just be aware of what we're feeling, what we're sensing. And even if that's sensing and feeling busyness or stress, just recognizing that and being aware that that's going on in the body and currently at the moment. So you can think of meditation as a practice that we want to be doing over and over to get better at. So just as an athlete in a sport, to be physically fit and to do the job well, you have to be practicing consistently and constantly and doing different things regularly if you want to train. And it's the same thing for meditation. The more time we spend sitting within our mind, the more we feel at peace, with ourselves and within ourselves. So even if you've done meditation over and over and you are an expert, that is amazing. We're just going to go ahead and meditate today. So we will be exercising the mindfulness muscle and trying to bring more calm, clarity, and contentment to our feeling today. So wherever you are currently, I'm going to go through the body scan exercise. If you can, go ahead and sit wherever you are very comfortably back up against a chair, feet are all the way on the ground. And if it's safe and you're able to do so today, I will have you go ahead and close your eyes just because it does help with that mindfulness exercise. Typically, guided meditation can be done sitting, lying down, or standing, and this one is recommended to be done sitting. So totally up to you whether you do want to get on the floor or not. Otherwise, here we go. You guys can go ahead and close your eyes if you have not already done so. Begin by bringing your attention into your body. Notice your body seated wherever you're seated. Feeling the weight of your body on the chair and on the floor. Take a few deep breaths. As you take a deep breath, bring in more oxygen, awakening the body. As you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. Notice your feet on the floor. Notice the sensation of your feet touching the floor. The weight, pressure, vibration, heat. Notice your legs against the chair. Pressure, pulsing, heaviness, lightness. Notice your back against the chair. Bring your attention into your stomach area. If your stomach is tense or tight, let it soften. Take a breath. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften. Notice your arms. Feel any sensation in your arms. Let your shoulders be soft. Notice your neck and throat. Let them be soft. Relax. Soften your jaw. Let your face and facial muscles be soft. Notice your whole body present. Take another breath. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. Take a breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right, welcome back everyone. Hopefully that was kind of calming, relaxing. And that took, we were doing that for about 3-4 minutes. So very, very brief, very calming, relaxing. This is directly from UCLA's Mindfulness Awareness Research Center. They do have a 45-minute version online as well. And this is obviously not the only source for a body scan. There are many, many, many amazing body scans you can find out there, but something to relax, kind of focus in on your breath, and then notice different things happening with your body. I know for me, the biggest thing is the palms and the hands, and, you know, noticing, hey, I've got tight fists right now. Why are my fists tight? And then I realize, oh, I'm really stressed. And so even though I'm not recognizing that I'm stressed right away, noticing my hands tense, and then, you know, recognizing that along the way really helps me out personally. So hopefully you're able to find some calmness and purpose with that. So a tool for your toolbox, that is called the body scan. Next slide, please. All right, getting back into content. Control during the pandemic. So I know a lot of you brought up things that are stressful, they're out of your control, and of course we have to continue dealing with them day in and day out, especially as surges recontinue and the virus is here to stay. So noticing what we can't control, how long this will last. We have no idea. When are we going to get the vaccine? We don't know. So focusing on that and always wondering how long this will last and trying to predict what will happen next is going to constantly cause stress. Of course, it's always in the back of our mind, but it's not something that we can control. So trying to let go of that a little bit. Shortage on supplies, you know, of course, we try to get supplies when we can. I don't know if you've been to the store recently. Costco's been kind of a zoo the last week again as people are trying to get toilet paper and cleaning supplies. So we have no control over that. Of course, we try to stock up as much as we can without hoarding, but that is also something we can't control. Another big one that is really driving people nuts lately is others' choices on social distancing and mask wearing. Of course, we can always ask people to practice these things, especially in our state as they are mandated. However, we can't control someone, you know, 7 states away as they decide to wear or not wear or socially distance or not. So those are some of the things we can't control. Maybe you feel a little bit of that stress coming back in. I know I do when I talk about it and think about it. But what we want to focus on today is what we can control. So some of the things that I've listed here today: turning off the news. It has been so tough. I know we've got presidential election this week. We're kind of sitting on the edge of our seat wondering what's happening next, but trying to turn off the news every once in a while and limiting social media. There's just a lot of information that's fake, false information that goes around that can cause your stress to go through the roof. And obviously we, being in the healthcare field and a healthcare setting, we know that there are lots of good information. We got to find resources for that rather than going to the news and social media for it. Your own practice of social distancing and mask wearing. So of course you can't control other 7 states away, but you can control what you're doing here and now. And stuff that we're going to talk about today in more detail: eating healthy, exercising, adequate sleep. Yes, there are parts of those that you can't control, but for the most part, there are definitely things that we can do to have control over those and to make yourself feel better. And then, of course, kindness to others, because we can, even though we're stressed and we're having a really difficult time, you know, as if someone's kind to you, especially when you're having a tough day, that can turn everything around 180. So if you can be doing that for someone else, just think of the impact that you can have for them. And of course, I know that you all are amazing people and you are all kind to others, but just practicing that continuously and being aware of that day in and day out as well. Next slide, please. Okay, sleep. Here we go with our first poll question. How many Americans aren't getting enough sleep?
Oh, I was going to launch the poll, but now it's telling me.
I was able to do it for some reason.
Okay, perfect.
Zoom is keeping us on our toes today.
Of course. If you guys can go in and answer how many Americans aren't getting enough sleep, that would be amazing. Give everyone a few more seconds here.
We're about 61% voted. Anyone else want to chime in before we close it out? All right, I'm going to end it.
Thank you. All right, well, you guys are spot on. The actual answer is 1/3, 33%. However, since the pandemic has started, they're predicting that about 50 to 60% of individuals are not getting adequate sleep. So kind of trick question, but you guys were right on the money there. All right, next slide, please. So sleep, yes, Americans aren't getting enough. Healthcare workers are definitely not getting enough. We've got 45% of healthcare workers getting less than 7 hours of sleep per night. And we know that that's not enough because the recommended sleep for adults is at least 7 hours. So the likelihood of a workplace accident increases by 70% when workers are not getting adequate sleep in that 7 hours. So not only is it terrible for your performance the next day, but it's going to be drastically affect your ability to function properly, which then, you know, can lead to things like accidents and why not. So range ends at 60. Sleep amounts recommended for individuals over 60 is actually a little bit less. So if you look at the span from, you know, babies up to seniors, babies have to sleep, you know, 18, 20, 22 hours a day. And then as people continue to get older, teens are more like 8 to 10 hours, then 18 to 16-year-olds is at least 7 hours, 7 to 9. And then once you get above 60, the recommended sleep is actually a little bit less. So just the age range. There's a lot of science behind that. I won't go into it too much with that one. But why are we getting such poor sleep? So of course, increased demand at work. You guys have already said that there's increased demand with patients. Hours are different. We're logging in an hour before we're supposed to be there and staying on 4 hours after, right? So there's an increased demand at work that's definitely affecting our sleep. Electronics, everything's virtual. We're on our electronics all the time, whether it's your computer that you're working on, we have our phones connected to us at our hips. We've got the TV constantly turned on, especially this week with the election and news and social media, and it's just insane, and I'm getting stressed thinking about it. But electronics definitely play a factor. The blue light in the electronics specifically as it gets close to bedtime does not help with any of your normal regulating hormones turning on that you need to go to sleep. So there's a couple different functions that you can use like on your phone and your computer to kind of dim the blue light. If you have not tried that, I would Google that and put it on every single device that you possibly can, at least an hour before bedtime. If you have to be on electronics before bed, eliminate that blue light, put the red light filter on, or blue light filter on. It's going to have more of a red appearance, but that will help you sleep at night as well. Light, so just normal daylight. Of course, now our hours are slimming down for how much daylight we're having, which actually helps us sleep more. But for individuals who have to work during the night when they're, you know, sleeping during the day, that light definitely affects them. So having, you know, blackout curtains or something to eliminate some of the light sources coming in will definitely help with that. And irregular bed and wake times. There has never been a time where people have felt more stressed than now. So this is really causing people to stay up way later, sleep in way later. When we're shifting our bed and wake times, that significantly throws off our deep sleep and our sleep cycles. So trying to have a regular bed and wake time every single day, even the weekends, that will definitely help. So those are just a few things of why we're having such poor sleep. A couple other statistics for you guys. 67% of Americans believe their sleep was healthier before the pandemic, and 68% of Americans feel stressed or feel it's hard to sleep now. That's not surprising. We're all stressed. This is a crazy time. So if you are in that category of feeling stressed, like your sleep was better before, you're not getting adequate sleep now, you are not alone. Nearly 70% of the nation is feeling that too. Next slide, please. Yes, and we've got something from Laura coming in for lack of sleep also negatively affects the immune system. Thank you, you're ahead of me. We've got that on this slide. What happens when we don't get 7 to 9 hours of sleep? Yes, weakened immune system. That the proteins that we need to target infection and inflammation are, we need sleep to have those happen. So they're produced and released during sleep. When we're not sleeping and getting adequate enough of sleep, those proteins are not created and distributed. So that is definitely tough. We've got vaccine potency. The potency of vaccines goes way, way down, especially thinking of like the flu vaccine, when of course we need those proteins for the inflammation and infection. That's the same thing for the vaccine. So if we're not getting adequate enough sleep after we get that vaccine, the potency is not as great. There is an increased risk for cancer, especially for overnight shift workers. If you are an overnight shift worker, this isn't meant to say, hey, you're gonna have cancer. Obviously not, but there is that increased risk for people who do work the night shift. And this goes to say, people who are up during the night, our bodies are made to sleep at night, be up during the day. And that just goes to show the weakened immune system and how much of an effect that has on it as well. Plus a disruption to circadian rhythm for people who have to be up at night, just because our bodies naturally, like I said, want to wake up in the morning, be up during the day when it's light outside, and have that natural rhythm. So that's the same thing with like the normal wake and sleep times. When you're disrupting those, that is going to be pushing your circadian rhythm off, which disrupts a lot of other things going on as well. Brain fog, increased reaction time. You're much slower doing things as if you were to have the 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So decreased alertness, ability to complete a task. I don't know how many of you feel like, man, if I don't get enough sleep, I can't remember a thing the next day. I have to have a million sticky notes. That's definitely me. I get brain fog. So learning and memory is definitely not great. You also need the sleep to be able to process everything you learned and memorized from the day before. So when you're not getting that sleep, you're not going to be learning as well, and you're going to have to relearn things. So it's not only a waste of time, but that's very frustrating. So if any of you are taking classes or even all this information that you're getting from the symposium, if you're not getting adequate sleep after, you're not going to be storing as much of that information in. And then weight gain. This is a big one. Bad decisions increase drastically when we don't get enough sleep. So when we talk about a self-control method of, here's a piece of chocolate cake, it looks delicious. If I have 8 hours of sleep, I can more readily say, I am not going to have this piece of chocolate cake today and be okay with it. If you get less than 7 hours, you are statistically much more inclined to say, hello, piece of chocolate cake, I am going to eat you because I don't have the decision-making skills to do so today to say goodbye to you. So it affects your frontal lobe drastically with your decision-making skills. and cravings also increase, so that doesn't help. So you have little self-control, your cravings have increased. It's kind of bad news bears all around. Also, when you don't get enough sleep, you are much more inclined to do late night snacking. And those snacks typically are more higher carbohydrate sources of food. So your system is saying, I need sleep, but I'm also hungry, I'm craving different things because everything's off. So the first thing the body wants is those carbs. And lowered sex drive. So sleeping less than 5 hours reduces sex hormones by 10 to 15%, with the males being closer to that 15% with that scale. So obviously we've got lots of stuff going on when we don't get the 7 to 9 hours. We definitely want all that sleep. So what can we do to improve sleep? So a couple of studies that have come out in the last couple of years have said that naps are one of the best things that you can do. Yes, naps can help, and naps should not be looked at as a negative thing. I was always one of those people who said, I can't take a nap, I've got too much to do, I want to be productive during the day. However, I didn't realize that my productivity was probably less than what it could have been if I did take, the 20 to 30 minute nap during the day to help my function and help my brain, especially that brain fog. So they've got studies going on saying about 2 naps a day. If you do have a really, really bad night of sleep, 2 naps can almost reverse everything negative from that bad night of sleep. So 1 in the mid-morning and 1 in the afternoon. These naps are no longer than 30 minutes. So hopefully that helps with, well, I don't have enough time. 15 to 20 minutes even with a nap will help. This will decrease the stress and offset those negative effects that sleep deprivation has on the immune system specifically, and then also help with that brain fog. So those are a couple of the components that they looked at in the study. A couple other things that you can do to help your sleep: limit food right before bed. When you have a full stomach, your body's focusing on breaking that all down instead of all the other hormone regulation that should be going on to help you calm down and go to sleep and actually stay asleep. So that's going to disrupt your sleep cycles. So limiting the food is great. Remain hydrated throughout the day. It is insane how much hydration affects sleep. So if you are not getting enough water throughout the day, try that out, see what you can do, and see if that starts to help your sleep. Exercise, you guys already know that one. We'll talk about that one in a little bit as well. Keeping the bedroom only for sleep and sex. This will help to create that calming environment. So if you are constantly doing work in your bedroom or things that stress you out, when you are in that space, you are naturally going to be more stressed out even when you're not doing that kind of work. Limiting blue light 1 hour before bed. So we have chatted about this. I know someone put in the comments, the Flux is a free app that can change that screen for you. So that if you go into the comment section, look up that app, it's fantastic. Eliminate blue light, introduce the red light at night. That's going to help with sleep significantly. And limiting alcohol. So a lot of people will say, well, alcohol helps me fall asleep. Yes, it can definitely help you fall asleep. However, during the night, your sleep cycles will be very off. So you actually don't get into that deep sleep and REM cycle that you would if you didn't have the alcohol. So alcohol will drastically affect your quality of sleep. So even if you have the quantity of the 7 to 9 hours because you have the alcohol, you're actually not as recovered as you might think you are from that time span. Also, for a couple of you that might be on night shift or tend to be on call or have to work during the night, a couple of strategies for you: don't delay going to bed. So the longer you wait to go to bed after you get off that night shift, the more awake you'll become, just because as that, like we said, that light during the day and our natural circadian rhythm wants us to be awake during the daytime. So going to bed as soon as you can after you get off that shift or after that call. Set aside a block of 7 to 9 hours after your night shift that is so difficult, but really trying to push everything else out to get that adequate sleep that will help you significantly to be present for things later on in the day if you do have to attend to family or friend things. Have something to eat or drink right before bed. This kind of goes against what I just said about don't eat or drink before bed. For people who are just getting off night shift, if you haven't eaten, this is going to be helpful for hunger pangs, so they're not waking you up at night, but obviously not something too heavy where it's disrupting sleep quality. And then staying away from activities that make you feel more alert before bedtime. So activity and exercise during the day to help sleep is great for people who are on a normal schedule. And you can even exercise right up until bedtime. Studies have shown that that's okay. However, if you are a night shift individual and are coming off a night shift, try not to exercise because that's actually going to help wake you up. And again, that delays you going to bed afterwards. So just a couple takeaways from that. Hopefully you're able to pick one of those to try right away. Next slide, please. Nutrition. All right, let's go ahead and do another poll. What percentage of Americans eat fast food every day? Go on in, cast your vote. What do we think?
About 50% voted. I'll leave it open just a little longer. Anna, we have just under 20 minutes left.
Thanks, Becky.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll.
All right, you guys are right on again. The statistic is 25%. 1 in 4 Americans have fast food every single day, which is insane. They say closer to 40 to 50% are having it weekly, for sure, at least once a week. So you guys are spot on. Next slide, please. So with the nutrition stuff, we're going to go over a little bit. I won't spend as much time on it as the sleep, but processed foods make up close to 70% of the US diet. This is so sad and so scary, but this is reality for us. So just as 1 in 4 Americans get fast food every day, if we're not getting fast food, we're getting processed foods. And this can look like salad dressings, bread, bars, breakfast cereals. I'm sure most of you consume that on a daily basis. If not, amazing. You are amazing. The processed foods also include frozen fruits and veggies. So of course, this is a better option than not having these things. And there's a lot to say about frozen fruits, especially keeping their nutrient value, but just keeping that in mind that they do count that in as processed food. So we're trying to stay away from that and be less processed throughout the day and consume less processed things. Another statistic for you, Americans spend 10% of their disposable income on fast food, which is just insane. So if you want to save some money, you can not have as much fast food. That's a good little tip for you. Next slide, please. So this is on the left, the SAD diet, the standard American diet, and on the right is more of a whole food, plant-based diet for you. So of course, both pictures are colorful. However, the left side, that SAD diet, is all from artificial colorings and additives. So even though it sparks your interest and it pulls your eyes towards it because they're beautiful and a pink donut looks amazing, especially when you don't have enough sleep, all the stuff on the right is actually coming from natural sources, and they're all colored because they have antioxidants and nutrients and minerals and all the amazing things that we need day in and day out. From the comments, canned fruits and vegetables, yes, they do count with processed foods. Typically those have additional things in them, such as syrups for fruits especially, and preservatives for the vegetables. So you know, I don't want to say don't have those because they're still fruits and vegetables. However, they're probably the last choice if they're available for those. Next slide, please. So with nutrition, what can we do to introduce better things in our day-to-day life right now? Try to eat a whole food plant-based diet. What does this mean? Less processed foods, more whole foods. So if you look at the picture, all of those are whole foods. Lots of fruits and veggies, anything that it doesn't have to go through a process to get into a package to get to you. The less things are processed, the better and more readily available the nutrients are for you. And also trying to choose nutrient-dense foods, so things that are relatively low in calories but contain high amounts of vitamins, minerals, complex carbs, lean protein, and healthy fats. So I do have, this is a really good book, if you can see that. This is the Blue Zone Solution. This is a book that we take a lot of patients and clients through with the work that I do. So this is eating and living like the world's healthiest people. So they take a look at different spots around the world and say, why are you living so long? And why is your quality of life so amazing, even at a higher age? So this is something that they have practiced in these areas of the world, is that whole food plant-based diet. Yay, love this Blue Zones book, good. So I'd highly suggest this if you have not heard of this before, check it out, or even just what Blue Zones means. This is more of like a holistic, change the way you're living and looking at things kind of book. So this goes big into the nutrition piece as well. And then another tip for you, stay away from empty calories. So you guys have heard this before too. A lot of those processed foods don't have nutrients, minerals, much value to them at all. But they're still adding calories. So you're still consuming things that you're going to have to work off if you don't want them to stay, and they're not doing anything for you. One of the biggest things right now is the alcohol. The pandemic has seen a surge in alcohol consumption and buying. This was deemed as an essential service during the lockdown. Many reasons for that. However, like we said with the sleep, it's not helping you sleep. So if that's been your main reason, you can check that one off your list. And number two, it has empty calories. It's not, other than red wine. If you read the Blue Zones book, one glass of red wine is acceptable. But other than that, there's not really much benefit to it. So that's a big one that you can start implementing for nutrition as well. And some implementation strategies to use: swap out the sugar, reduce processed items, add in more vegetables. So wherever you can, if you're making a smoothie, sandwich, pizza, load on those vegetables. That will also help with the immune system, especially as we head into flu season. And planning ahead. This is one of the hardest things, but one of the easiest things to help improve your nutrition is that planning ahead piece. So of course you have to set aside time, but that will save time later on in the week. That's a great strategy to implement. Let's go ahead and get to the next slide. Last but not least, that exercise piece. Let's go ahead and do another poll. How many minutes of vigorous exercise should be completed each week? So this is vigorous exercise, not moderate intensity vigorous.
All right, I'm gonna close it out. We still have some people coming in. All right, I'm gonna end it.
Thank you. All right, so with that 150 minutes is for that moderate intensity. However, vigorous exercise, it should be the 75 minutes. And we'll go over some of those. So good job. Thanks for playing, guys. Next slide. So exercise. Current recommendations from the American Heart Association. Like I just said, 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity, or 75 minutes per week of vigorous intensity exercise, or a combination of both, preferably spread out throughout the week. So the higher intensity is just going to help the heart and cardiovascular system, so you get to do less of it. However, if it's that moderate intensity, trying to boost it up to 150 minutes. With that being said, they also recommend moderate to high intensity strength training at least 2 days per week. And this is mostly for maintenance. So if you want to increase how much muscle you have, your metabolic rate, all that kind of stuff with the strength training, we're looking for like 3 to 4 days a week of strength training for that. However, if you can only get 2 days in, that is the recommended amount. They also say that you can gain even more benefits by doing over 300 minutes per week. So this is 5 hours. And for some of you, you're like, I do not have 5 hours a week of exercise. That's fine. 150 minutes, moderate intensity, that's what they're looking for. But if you're already there, if you're doing 150, 200 minutes, and you're looking to increase and gain more benefits from your exercise, bump it up to the 300 and see what happens. But with that being said, you also want to increase the amount of time that you're spending exercise and intensity over time. If you're doing 0 minutes right now, you do not want to literally go 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 within a week. Start implementing that in small steps throughout your week and see how you're feeling and how your body responds to that. Because I promise you, if you're doing 0 right now and you go to 300 minutes, you're not going to feel awesome. Your recovery is going to be horrible, and you're going to be pretty mad at me. So don't do that. But increase a little bit over time. If you're not doing anything right now, even 15 to 20 minutes walking around the block. You guys were saying at the beginning, an hour walk a day. Amazing. That's awesome. So wherever you can sneak that in, that's great. Their mantra right now is move more with more intensity and sit less. So again, this is from the American Heart Association. So we're just moving more with intent, with more intensity, and sitting less, so just getting up throughout the day or even changing what you're doing. And yes, in the comments, there are so many free great apps for home workouts. Yes, absolutely, we're gonna get into that. The biggest things I hear right now are, my gym is closed. Okay, there are so many other things that you could be doing that are not at the gym. Yes, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of free videos and free workouts, especially right now. Gyms and studios across the world have opened up virtually for even you to pay for, a small fee for a virtual class. That's a great option, but there's lots of free plans out there. And if you're like, I can't get the motivation to do that on my own, then have a friend join you in. So be on a Zoom call with them and do it virtually, so you have an accountability partner or something like that. And then a lot of you might be saying as well, but I'm bored with what I've been doing. Yeah, things get boring. So definitely switch it up. Pick up a new hobby. Brandy says pick up a new hobby. Yes, paddleboarding, amazing. Obviously the weather's turning now, so we might not be able to paddleboard much in the winter months. But doing something different and activating your body in a different way is going to help stimulate the brain, and just find that enjoyment in exercise as well. Because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to do it. So finding enjoyment, doing things throughout the day between meetings. If you're in a Zoom, of course, not during the symposium when you're listening to presentations because you want to be present. But if you're in a different Zoom call meeting, you can have your video off and be doing squats in the background while you're listening in, or push-ups on the floor. Even if you're doing 10 push-ups on the hour every hour during your workday, there's 80 push-ups that you've done at the end of the day. That's a lot more than you've done if you did 0 during it. So just different ways to be thinking about that. And also visualizing yourself doing things will help to motivate that behavior change to do something differently. So this is the same as just as we do the mindfulness exercises and we're practicing those throughout the day and the week to help us get better at that. You can visualize yourself doing the exercises that's going to help to motivate you and to get you amped up to go and do that. So especially if the weather's awful outside and you want to go take a walk outside, visualize yourself doing it, enjoying it, and then go on and knock that out. So those are a couple things on exercise. Next slide, please. Get creative. These are things that you guys have already seen. Every 15 to 30 minutes or on the hour, do a specific exercise as you're between meetings or doing emails, because it does get very boring at home doing work and doing nothing at all. I go a little stir crazy at home. So start small, don't incorporate too much. Let's see, oh, in the comments, the adjustable desk. Yes, there's many, many, many different adjustable desks as well. And thinking about ergonomics at home, this is very important. Please don't sit in your couch and do meetings all day long because it's horrible for your posture. But even if you could put a couple boxes on each other for a standing desk, that helps too. Any suggestions, really quick, like 1 or 2 suggestions that you guys have found that really, really works for you for exercise specifically? Anyone? Okay, walking the dogs, getting it in before the kids wake up. Awesome. Dance workouts on YouTube. Yes. There are so many Zumba classes. Biking. Yes. Good. Okay. So if you, virtual 5Ks. Yes. If you have not done any of these and you're like I'm getting amped up looking at them. If this is kind of stirring some excitement in you, try one of these options. Yes. Walking on the phone. Using your cell phone for meetings, absolutely. Free exercises on YouTube, yes. Walking meetings, definitely awesome. Okay, thank you guys. Next slide. Yes, lockdown can change outdoor activities, so enjoy it while you can. And we live in an amazing state where you can really get away and not really see anyone. So we are very, very, very fortunate to be where we are. All right. I know we're running out of time. I want to talk through more like a visualization exercise, just because you guys have already said, yes, visualization works for me and this is super important. So a couple of other tools for your toolbox for mindfulness activities and meditation. There's something called 4-7-8 breathing. This is something if you don't have 45 minutes to sit and do a guided meditation. This is something you can easily do, 2 to 3 times to help oxygenate the system and calm you down. So 4-7-8 breathing. You inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 7 seconds, and you exhale for 8 seconds. So that is going to help, like I said, oxygenate the body, bring that calmness and clarity into the system. So we'll go ahead and try this one right now, just because it's nice and quick. So if you guys can get back into that relaxed seated position, relaxed shoulders, back up against the chair if you can. If you want to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. But starting the breathing, inhale for 4 seconds. Go ahead and inhale. Hold it. And exhale. Again, inhale, 4 seconds here. Hold it. And exhale. We'll do that one more time. Inhale through the nose if you can this time, 4 seconds. Hold. And exhale for 8 through the mouth if you can. If your eyes were closed, go ahead and open them. hopefully you're able to, even just for a few seconds, calm yourself down. We've got Janice in the chat saying 478 breath work intended to activate sleep. It totally can. If you're having a hard time sleeping at night, definitely go ahead and try that. But it's going to help just calm the system, reduce stress. So whether that's stress from your workday or that's stress at night where your brain can't turn off, it can definitely help with either of them. Other visualization exercises that you can do, I'm just going to go ahead and say YouTube it. There's lots of different free apps that you can be using. You guys are also putting stuff in the comments for box breathing, different practices. Yes, there are so many, and those are going to help, again, reduce stress, create that calmness, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide because I want to get through everything. Here are a couple mindfulness apps for you guys. Headspace is also a really good one that's not on here, that's free. All of these have different options to pay if you want a couple different layers to it. So usually they'll give you a handful of the free things, but then get you hooked because you like their program, and then they'll want you to pay. So the one, Headspace is probably most commonly known. Also Calm is a really good one. They do guided meditation, and they do have, they're really known for their sleep programs. So you guys might have heard Matthew McConaughey does one of the sleep programs on there, and that got everyone really fired up. So they've got people on there like Harry Styles, Kelly Rowland, LeBron James. They're all doing the guided meditation. So if that's interesting you, I'd look into the Calm app. Next slide. Couple questions, close it out here, just to wrap things up. What strategies will you begin to implement to achieve work-life balance? So we talked about what are you doing now at the beginning. If you said nothing, I hope that maybe even a half of a tip that we talked about today stirred something in you. You're like, I can try that. Start small, do something minimal to start helping you progress into a healthier you. So what strategies will you begin to implement to achieve work-life balance? Next one. How will you overcome obstacles that get in the way of your self-care plan? So yes, there are things that are in control and out of our control. What things can you control and overcome obstacles that you know are going to come up? Like, for instance, the exercise. You guys had said in the comments you work out before your kids wake up. Amazing, because kids are going to cause some disruption to your day, and they might cause you to miss a workout. So if you're overcoming that obstacle by working out before the kids come up, amazing. So think about what obstacles you can overcome, and some strategies to do that before they even happen. Next slide. Who will you share your new self-care plan with? Find an accountability partner, whether that's your mom, your sister, your friend, your neighbor that you keep bringing baked goods to, anyone in your life that is going to be supportive of you and help you stay accountable. This statistically increases your chances of committing to a behavior and keeping that over time significantly. So find someone that you can share that new self-care plan with and check in with them, and they might even have a self-care plan that they want to implement as well. So you guys can be accountability partners for each other. Next slide. Last but not least, what would your future self look like if you were able to implement this new strategy? If you are someone who sleeps at 5 hours a night and is stressed beyond belief, just imagine what it would look like a month from now if you were able to sleep 7 hours a night between now and December 1st or December 6th. Oh my gosh, amazing. So think about, that's another visualization exercise you can implement. Think about where you would be a month from now or even 2 weeks from now if you start implementing some of these strategies on what your future self will look like. Next slide. I know that we have brought it up right to 10 a.m. I knew this was going to happen. I don't even know if we have time for questions and comments. I'll kind of give that up to you, but just thank you guys. Thank you so much for being so attentive and being super active in the chat. I really appreciate that.